Colloquial English can be quite difficult to understand and to incorporate into your everyday English vocabulary. Be that as it may, we're here to help you get to grips with some common English expressions that will help you speak English more like a native speaker. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hello and welcome. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with nearly 50 years of teaching English between us, we're going to help you improve your English and take it to the next level. How are you, Reza?
Apart from a slightly bad back, I'm fine. Let my bad back be a warning to all of you. Don't use your computer in a bad position. Sit comfortably. I didn't, and now I have a bad back.
Oh dear, well I wish you better. Ergonomics are very important. Make sure you're sitting properly.
But these are the professional dangers that a podcaster must go through, because it was while I was preparing the podcast that I rather stupidly chose to sit in a posture that was uncomfortable. And here I am now with a bad back. But Craig, I am prepared to suffer all sorts of physical and psychological injuries to get the podcast out.
We admire your tenacity and your staying power. Very good. First this week we have a voice message from Erasmo from Brazil.
Hi Greg, this is Erasmo from Brazil. I wish you a good day. I have learned a lot of English with your English podcast. Have a nice day, my friend. See you.
Erasmo, thank you very much for your message. That was a very clear message, and I don't think you made any mistakes.
I didn't hear any problems with your message, Erasmo. That was perfect. So well done. Thank you for sending in your message. Keep practicing, and we really look forward to hearing your next message. And maybe if there's a question you have or something you want to comment on from a previous episode, we would be happy to put your comments on the show. So thanks again, Erasmo, for sending in your message. What's next, Reza?
We have another voice message from the other side of the world now. It's from Lorenzo, who's living in Germany.
Hi guys, this is Lorenzo again, the guy who is living in Germany. I just wanted to thank you for the episode about prepositions for a digital world. It was really nice, very helpful, and there were many things that I didn't know. And well, I also wanted to thank you again for all the material that you have in La Mansión del Inglés. The material is helping me a lot because, as I said, I never learned English per se. I mean, at school, and I'm trying to get this C1 certificate, and well, I'm right now trying to get my grammar skills in the right shape for it, and it is sometimes not easy, you know. I downloaded your Cuaderno de Inglés, this Gramática Inglesa, and I am right now learning from it. And I was wondering if you could tell me what kind of grammar level can I achieve with this Cuaderno. Well, guys, thank you very much. You are doing it great. And just keep it up, please. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo, for getting in touch. Again, regular listeners may remember that Lorenzo asked the question that we based an episode on recently, episode 367, in which we spoke about prepositions and phrasal verbs for a digital world. So thanks for getting in touch again, Lorenzo. You asked about the Mansión Inglés Cuaderno. Let me explain. That's a newsletter that we send out every 2 weeks. You can subscribe for free at the mansioningles.com website. And inside the newsletter, there are basically 3 levels of English. So basic, intermediate, and advanced. And we give exercises, listening practice, and other material at those 3 levels. The grammar download that you mentioned, you can buy on the website. That's store.mansioningles.net. It costs €2.99. And again, it's not a course that will take you to a level. It's a reference in Spanish explaining English grammar. It's in PDF, and it's something you can have on your phone. If you have any problems with grammar, you can use it as a reference to explain, to see the explanations and to learn about grammar with explanations and examples in Spanish and in English. For more information on free courses, if you're interested in taking a level test to find out your English or studying for free at 4 different levels, that's beginner, basic, intermediate and advanced, lots more information on mansioningles.com. And thank you, Lorenzo, for your message.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. Craig, we have one more voice message. It's back to South America for this one. It's Marcelo from Argentina.
Hello, people. I am Marcelo from Argentina. Some weeks ago, I was looking for a podcast and I found yours, which is really excellent to learn and improve my poor English. I enjoy a lot your style and teaching way. Could you be so kind and explain the difference between advice and advice? I really don't know if I pronounce well both words. One is with C and one is with S. Thank you in advance and good luck.
Well, thank you very much, Marcelo. It's really good to get your message from Argentina. Just one small thing. You began your message by saying, I am Marcelo. It's more common to just say it's. So I think you translated soy directly to I am, but it's more common in English when you answer the phone or when you leave a message like you have done to say it's. Hi, it's Marcelo here.
It's strange, isn't it, Marcelo? Because when you start learning English, teachers and books and internet sites, they make such a big point of it cannot be for people. It is for things. It's he for people, she, and they, but there's always an exception.
Yeah.
So in this case, we do refer to people, as Craig says, with it in this case.
And it's also interesting when you meet someone in person, you might say, hi, I'm Craig, which is acceptable. But on the phone and leaving voice messages, I think it's more, do you agree? It's more common to say, hi, it's Craig or it's Reza here?
Yeah, no one would ever say, I'm on the phone, would they?
No.
Yeah. It's or it's Craig here, or it's Craig speaking, or something like that.
Yeah, but if you meet someone in person at a conference or a party, you'd say, oh, hello, I'm Craig. Strange.
I thought Marcelo's message was very good, and I understood it all. But there are 1 or 2 things that we could improve. That's not a bad thing. For example, your pronunciation of podcast. Yeah, it's a tricky word to pronounce. So split it up, if you like. Say it slow first. Podcast, and then put them together. Podcast. So get the d before the k. Podcast.
I really liked your expression, could you be so kind as to? Very polite, very lovely, and very nice. So thank you for using such a polite expression. You want us to explain the difference between advice and advise, the pronunciation. As you correctly said, I think in your message, the noun is with a C, advice, and the verb is with an S. And the difference is one sound is voiced, so you use vibration that comes from the throat, and one sound is unvoiced. It's not voiced. There's no vibration from the throat. It's the noun that has the unvoiced sound. So it's like a snake, like a s. Listen, advice. That's the noun. Can I have some advice? When you use the verb, you need to use some vibration in the throat. If you put your hand on your throat or on top of your head, you can probably feel the vibration when you make a sound more like a bee or a wasp that goes zzz. Advise, advise. So I hope you can feel that vibration. And that's the difference between the sounds advice, the noun, and advise, the verb.
And just one more little thing, Marcelo. You said, I enjoy a lot your style. That's not quite right. You should say, I enjoy your style a lot. This is a very typical mistake. It's easy to understand you, but let's get it right. We always put words like a lot, very much, a bit, a little bit. We put them after the object. So the object is your style. I enjoy your style. And if you want to say how much you do something, in this case, enjoy our style, you always say how much afterwards. So I enjoy your style a lot, or I enjoy your style very much. I enjoy your style a little bit. So put a lot after the object.
And thank you very much, Marcelo, for your voice message. Now, this week we're going to speak about some colloquial expressions that we hope will improve your English. Now, we know you want to get to be a very, very advanced natural English speaker, perfect in every aspect of grammar and vocabulary, but don't hold your breath. It's going to take some time, some dedication, and some work. So that's our first expression. Don't hold your breath. What does that mean, Reza?
Well, we don't mean literally, because you could die, you could have a problem. Metaphorically, imagine to hold your breath is when you go, and then you don't breathe anymore, you're going to die. So obviously, if you do that, it's a very bad idea. So if someone tells you, don't hold your breath, they're saying, don't expect it to happen quickly. It's not going to happen for a very long time. If you're going to hold your breath, if you're going to stop breathing, waiting for it to happen, you're going to die. So don't do that. So metaphorically, it means it's going to take a while. Don't hold your breath. I've also heard a variation, and sometimes I would use it myself. It's more or less the same. Some people say, I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you. So they're saying it as advice, giving advice. So I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
Reza, we're recording this in the pandemic. Obviously, most of the world at the moment is suffering, some more than others, but people are still suffering from the pandemic. Do you think one day the nurses, the doctors, the healthcare workers that have been so fantastic in helping us through this global crisis, do you think they'll be getting a lot more money and a lot more recognition by the governments and the health services?
Don't hold your breath. That's what I would say about that. Don't hold your breath.
And do you think flights and international travel will be the same very soon as it was before the pandemic?
I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
I agree. It's not going to be back as it was very quickly.
Take it from me, we're not going to get back to normal for a little while yet. Take it from me.
Take what from you?
Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to give you anything except advice. So when somebody says, take it from me, that means I'm giving you advice here. Believe me, because I know what I'm talking about.
We're recording this podcast towards the end of June here in Spain in 2021, and the weather's quite hot, quite warm. But Reza, do you think it's going to get hotter next month?
Take my word for it. It will get hotter. This is nothing. We're at 25, 28 degrees. Valencia is going to get up to 33, 4, 5 easily. Take my word for it.
And do you think you're going to have a rest this summer?
Don't hold your breath.
Really? That surprised me. Why? You've got plans to be working.
No, it's just there always seems to be one thing after another. Whenever work calms down, then something breaks in my house, a light or something. So I don't know if I'll ever get a rest. Or the dog has a stomach ache or something. Goodness knows what.
Yeah, there's always something. That's life, mate. That's what life does for us. What's our next expression?
Well, Craig, where might you say, what's the damage?
Well, literally, if you break something, if something happens in the house, for example, if your light isn't working or you break a glass or the fan doesn't work, you might say, what's the damage? Oh, the damage is in the system or the damage is in the electrics. But there's an idiomatic use of that expression, what's the damage, when you speak about money. Let's say, for example, we've gone out together for a meal, and at the end of the meal, we get the bill. And obviously, we're paying 50-50, so I might say to you, you're looking at the bill, hey, Reza, what's the damage? And what I mean is, how much do I need to pay? What is my part of the bill?
And you know what I might say to that? I might say, it's on me, Craig. It's on me. Or, this one's on me. What do I mean when I say, this one's on me, or it's on me?
That means that you're very kindly offering to pay for the bill. So instead of saying, I will pay for this, which is really quite unusual, you don't hear that very often, a more colloquial expression in British English would be, it's on me, I'm paying for this. You can also say, it's my treat. It's my treat means I'm going to treat you, I'm going to pay for the lunch or the beer or the coffee or the meal, etc.
Or I'll get the bill. Be careful with the word get. It's a real minefield. There's so many uses of the word get. I mean, I suppose you could interpret it as meaning you're going to physically go and get the piece of paper in your hand where it says how much money you have to pay. But it doesn't mean that. When you say it colloquially, to get something means to pay for it. So I'll get the bill means I'll pay the bill.
The waiter could say it, couldn't he? If you ask the waiter, hey, how much is that, please? He'd say, oh, let me get the bill. But that means physically he's going to bring it to the table.
Yeah, he's not going to pay. If you find a restaurant where the waiter pays, please let me know. I want to go there. So if the waiter says, I'll get the bill, it's quite different to if Craig or I say to each other, I'll get the bill. Same words, but completely different meaning.
Yeah, exactly. Although if you're having lunch with Reza, he usually gets the bill. It's usually on him. He's very generous and he usually pays for the bill. He just does.
Oh, that's not true. Craig is very, very generous. I think he's been overly modest.
And when you've finished in the restaurant and you have to leave, or you finished your coffee and you're going, it's very common to say, I'm off. I'm off. But what does that mean? Off what?
In this case, it means I'm leaving, I'm going. There are many meanings of to be off. For example, if you say that food is off, it means it's bad. It was good, but you've had it for too long and now it's bad, it's off. But if a person says, I'm off, that means I'm leaving.
Doesn't mean they're smelling badly.
No.
They smell badly.
No, if their cheese was off, then their cheese might smell badly. And I don't know if you've heard, Craig, but I think I hear in Belfast more and more these days, and I've heard particularly Scottish people say it as well. They have a little variation of saying, I'm off ski. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard it, yeah. I wouldn't use it myself. Maybe it's not a typically Southern England expression, but I have heard it said, yes.
The ski bit doesn't really mean anything just because it sounds funny. People have added ski to I'm off ski.
One I have heard quite often in the South is I'm going to bounce. B-O-U-N-C-E, like a ball. You can bounce a ball when you push it up and down. In a similar way, if you are bouncing, that means you're moving from one place to another.
Ah, that's a new one on me. When I say that's a new one on me, I've never heard it before. That's interesting.
I'm going to bounce. I'm off. See you later. What do you normally say when you leave somewhere? Say you're having coffee with friends and you need to go because lunch is waiting for you. What would you say?
If it's an informal setting, I would probably say I'm off. Although I would say something before that. I would say, look, I'm really sorry, or I'm very sorry, but I have to go. And then the moment that I'm physically leaving, so I've said in advance, I've got to go, I'm sorry. And then as I'm leaving, I say, well, I'm off, as I'm actually physically going.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You said it in two different ways. I have to go, or I've got to go. Or you could also say, I must go, if you feel the internal obligation. I'm really sorry, I must go, there's something I need to do. So you feel the obligation to leave now.
And would you agree that I'm off comes right at the very end?
Yep.
As you are actually going. There can't be anything more after I'm off. That's it. And now you've got to go if you say I'm off.
I'm off now. See you later. Goodbye. In Spanish, maybe it would be mi marcho or me voy.
Marcho, me voy. Yeah.
Our next expression is dig in. D-I-G. Dig, to dig. Now, you might have come across this verb. To come across means you've seen it before, you recognize it, as to dig a hole, for example, which, if you're a Spanish speaker, is cavar. You can dig a hole in the sand or in the ground, in the earth, but you can also use dig in as an expression when you're eating, to begin a meal. If I put food on the table and I say, come on, Reza, it's getting cold, dig in, what do you understand from that?
Start eating. Don't wait any longer. Help yourself. Don't be timid. Don't be shy. Go for it. Yeah. I've heard a few variations. Would you ever say get stuck in?
Yes, also. That's very informal, very colloquial, and it means pretty much the same. Start eating. It's getting cold. Yeah, don't wait. Help yourself. One more use of that dig in expression, it can be used idiomatically if you're having a conversation or an interview with someone and you want to get into more detail. For example, I could say that Reza left Belfast to come to Spain and start teaching, but I like to dig into that a bit more. When did you come? Why did you come? So you're digging down idiomatically for deeper information, for more information on the topic. So the idea of digging in to a conversation or to a topic means to get more information and go deeper.
Craig, in the introduction to this podcast, you used the expression, be that as it may.
I did. Well spotted.
What did you mean by that?
I mean that although that may be true, I said colloquial English can be difficult to understand and to incorporate into your everyday English vocabulary. It's a difficult thing to do. However, or be that as it may, we're going to help you do it. So even though what I said before was true, I'm going to say this. Can you think of another example?
We could say the weather in Valencia in July and August is very hot and humid and sticky. To be honest, it's a bit uncomfortable. Be that as it may, I still advise you to come and visit. You can cool down on the beach and sit out on a terrace at night.
That's a good example.
Be that as it may, in other words, there's problems or it's not perfect or it's true. There's a certain negative side, but then here comes the positive side after that.
Now, would you agree, because before we've looked at more informal expressions, it's on me, I'm off, what's the damage? Do you agree that be that as it may is a bit more formal and probably very good for writing, using in an essay? Yeah.
Yes, it's formal, but you do hear it spoken sometimes. Yeah. It can be used in kind of as a formal idiomatic expression, which is often spoken, but it could be written for sure.
Let me give you another couple of examples. My dad was a very nice man. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but he was a lovely man. He was very generous, very kind, a wonderful father. Be that as it may, he was a bit of a racist sometimes, as some people of his generation tended to be. So although that's true, blah, 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 blah. Another example, my sister has a very nice life where she lives on the coast in Spain. She lives in a beautiful area. There's lovely people. It's very comfortable. Be that as it may, I would not like to live in such an expat bubble.
Why not?
Because it looks quite boring to me. They don't seem to have a lot of variety in their life. And it's also very gossipy. And when I say gossipy, I mean that people talk about other people behind their backs. And because the expat community is very small, everybody knows your business and what you're doing. And it's very clicky.
Yeah, there are cliques, there are groups, and it can be quite hard to get into those groups. And those groups talk about other groups, and they even talk about each other,
Yeah.
the other members of the group.
I much prefer living in Valencia, where it's a bigger city and it's more cosmopolitan. So that kind of life, although it's very nice, it's not for me.
Craig, imagine you saw a sign outside a bakery which looked really good. From what you can see in the shop display in the window, they have some really nice cakes, and the speciality is chocolate. And there's a sign saying, drop in, which means come in, whatever you like, free chocolate cake. Would you think much before you went into that bakery?
No, I'd go inside in a heartbeat, which means immediately. Your heart is beating, ba-boom, 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 and that happens quickly. So immediately, an expression we can use is in a heartbeat. I'd do it in a heartbeat. And another idiomatic expression is at the drop of a hat. Imagine you're wearing a hat, you take your hat off and you drop it. That happens very quickly, yeah? It falls to the ground. So at the drop of a hat is a very similar expression. In a heartbeat, immediately. Reza, would you like to retire if you had the opportunity?
At the drop of a hat. At the drop of a hat. I might retire from teaching and other things, but I would continue podcasting.
Would you?
Yeah. What about you?
That's good news to me. Oh, I would at the drop of a hat. Absolutely. And I'm pleased to hear that you would too. And I'm sure everyone listening to this is very happy that you'd continue, that we'd both continue podcasting if we had enough money to stop working. Let me ask you another question. If you had the opportunity to work in a civil service position as a civil servant here in Spain, would you do that?
In a heartbeat.
Why?
Because here in Spain, I think civil servants, well, it depends which type of civil servant, but most of them have really comfortable lives if they want to. That doesn't mean they're lazy, not necessarily, but they have a lot of job security, so reasonable pay or good pay, guaranteed. You're not going to have to work any hours that are not strictly stipulated in your contract, and you know that you will be paid, and that when you leave, if you had to leave early before your retirement age, you will be paid a proper redundancy package. And when you retire, you're going to get a good pension. So for the security, I would take the job in a heartbeat. What about you?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't take it in a heartbeat. I'd consider it carefully. I'd think about it probably for a long time and then decide if it would be a good move or not. But I wouldn't be so keen to do it, I don't think. So that's not a decision that I would make at the drop of a hat.
So all those positive benefits I've spoken about, you would say, be that as it may,
Yes,
there are drawbacks as well.
Be that as it may, you're still working quite a few hours and you have to be happy with what you're doing. So it's a decision that I would not take lightly.
That's true. I wouldn't take it lightly, but I think job security these days is becoming rarer and rarer, harder to get. And
that's true.
If you can get hold of a good job like that, it's very valuable.
That's true. Well, we're off now, but before we go, we'll just go back quickly and review the expressions we've spoken about today. The first one was don't hold your breath, which means don't expect something to happen for a long time. Don't hold your breath.
The next one was take it from me, or take my word for it, which means believe me because I know what I'm talking about.
What's the damage? You can use that when you're paying for something. How much do you need to pay? How much is it? What's the damage?
The fourth one was it's on me. Or some people say, this one's on me, which means I'll pay, I'll get the bill, it's my treat.
Number 5 was I'm off. So I'm going to bounce, I'm going, I'm off ski, I must go now, see you later, we're out of here.
And the sixth one is to do with food. When somebody wants you to start eating, help yourself, they're saying you don't need to be shy. They could say dig in or get stuck in.
And if you dig into chocolate cake, it is lovely and it is delicious. Be that as it may, it does have a lot of calories. So be that as it may, although that may be true.
And the last colloquial expression we mentioned means to do something immediately without having to think much about it, and it was in a heartbeat or at the drop of a hat.
So now it's time for you to practice your English. We would love to hear from you. Why don't you send us a voice message and we will include it in a heartbeat in a future podcast. Your voice messages can be left at speakpipe, speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. How can people get in touch by email, Reza?
If you would prefer to write, you could send us an email. Write to Craig. You'll get him at craig@inglespodcast.com, or write to me, belfastreza@gmail.com.
You can see some online courses, as I mentioned earlier, on our website, mencioningles.net. So go to store.mencioningles.net and take it from me. You'll find some very useful courses there.
As always, we'd like to thank all of you who are helping us by supporting this podcast on the Patreon scheme. Patreon, that's Patreon. If you're interested, you could join the program for as little as $1.20 per month. That 20 cents includes VAT, the VAT tax. And as a thank you for that, you get instant access to recent audio transcriptions. If you're interested, have a look at patreon.com/Ingles podcast.
And what was the damage for joining the Patreon scheme?
The damage was only as little as $1.20 per month.
So not much damage then. We want to welcome our new Patreon supporters who have joined us this month. Unfortunately, we can't mention everybody who is currently on the scheme. There just isn't enough time, but special thanks to our latest subscribers. They are Javier Lopez, David Santana Rubiales, Liliana Galucci, and Pedro J. Estebanez. And special thanks to Liliana and Pedro, who are donating more than the minimum $1. Thank you so much to you and everyone who is helping us on our Patreon scheme. What's next week, Reza?
Next week, we've got something pretty interesting. We're going to be talking about intensifiers.
Really?
Yes.
That
Yes.
sounds really good.
Yes, really, and very, and quite, and pretty, and fairly. Those words are intensifiers, and that's what we're going to talk about on next week's episode.
So we're fairly sure you're going to enjoy that. Thank you so much for listening this week. We'll be with you again next week. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.